Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have the last of these tier lists. This time it is for set 9 standard. I probably will do one for set 10 maybe a little bit later on, or I might just wait out for the next ban list coming in June to do another one. If you guys need any coaching for the BSF or BRO season, feel free to hit me up on my Metafy. Link is in the bottom right hand corner. Feel free to book a session and we can get started. We're going to run through a bunch of these. There is so many ride lines now. There are probably over like 30-40 ride lines, so me giving you an in-depth description of most of these is probably going to be useless, especially if a lot of them are in the bottom tier of this particular tier list. So this is more a discussion on where the decks sit in the metagame at the moment, and have some foresight as to what will be good coming into the future. A few that I'll start with. So Eva, S tier deck, one of the best decks in the format at the moment. Besides Chronojet, there are other ones as well. And note that S tier is probably the best decks, the deck that you want to include for your BSF team. A tier is not too far above that, or under that, sorry. And these decks still can compete against the S tier decks. B tier is like your benchmark. You can just get by these in BSF, but I guess it's like kind of the weak link if you bring it onto your team composition. And then C and D, a little bit of help, or hopefully there's a huge change for this ride line or that particular ride line. So Eva, best deck, one of the best decks at the moment, along with Chronojet. Everyone knows that already. Overlord is probably one of the better decks in the format. Sometimes you might just restand, hit an OT, and call it game. This deck is really strong. Obviously with Auto Hatchet Dragon, now your deck becomes a turn 3 deck instead of turn 4 deck going second. So pretty much all of its weaknesses that I had before is now eliminated. Something that goes in D, maybe not D, Eugene, yeah, I'll give it like slightly more credit. Yeah. Felty Rosa goes in D, needs a bit more support. Barrow Magnus goes in C. It used to be much higher. The deck is fragile but can still win games, but I feel that just every other deck above it can just absolutely stomp the deck itself. Flagberg, a lot of people say it's good, and I might be controversial to say it's B, but I think low A is where I'll put it. You gotta put respect to the deck itself, and it just wins, steals games, the guard restrict is strong, and gotta give it that. 4 tier C, I guess. Clarissa is actually pretty good. I think Clarissa is sitting at the lowest of the benchmark, along with Kyrie. I think Kyrie is there. It's just not everyone is invested in it because there's obviously other better lyrical decks. Magnolia, so Magnolia is also there. I think Magnolia, with obviously the unrestriction of Inlet Pulse Dragon, I think Magnolia sits in a nice spot, just sitting there. Greedon as well. I think Greedon is, we see Greedon pop up here and there again, and I think being the benchmark, the median line for all of these decks is completely fine. Hexaorb is in C. This deck will actually jump up to B and potentially even A once Aquamarine comes out. The deck is very, very strong once that support is released. MLB kind of stays here. Loro sometimes can steal games with the guard district. It still does what it does. Wellstra, I think Wellstra is one of the better decks in the format. Probably one of the decks you want to choose for your Springfest. The deck itself, neg 5, neg 10, neg 15 onto your opponent's Vanguard, and it's pretty much giving 15k to your front row. It's a very, very strong card, and the deck synergizes really well with the grade 2, and pretty much it does everything that it does. And we know that the Puppy Dog grade 1 order is coming out soon, so even more merit for this deck to be up there. Bastion, I think Bastion goes in B, Lohu B. I mean, if Laura can stay here, then I guess Bastion can stay here. But I think like Clarissa and Kari goes down a little bit more. Kari may be a little bit higher than Laura. But yeah, it's just okay. Like, to be honest, I'm like tempted to put it in C, but I think give it a little bit more credit for, what the deck is. I guess same with Grade 4 Bruce. Maybe Bruce kind of sits up here. The deck itself isn't too bad, but I think Viamance is just somewhat stronger. Same with Grade 3 Bruce, kind of sits hand in hand together. Youthberg is probably one of the better decks. Definitely a good choice for your BSF team. We saw it, when it released, had a huge impact, and obviously everything else got a little bit better, so only naturally will it go down a tier. Tamayura, I think Tamayura is probably one of the better ones. Roroa probably needs some help. I guess like once the set 11 comes out, then Roroa gets a little bit of a buff. Mahar, so Mahar, I guess can go here just with all the other Grade 4 decks. And this is in no particular order. I'm just putting it in the tier, and then maybe we can shuffle around to towards the end, just to determine where everything kind of sits. Willista, I'm sorry. It goes there. Lukier, I think Lukier is alright, and from someone who loves the deck, I think it is just a moderate deck, but I think it needs a little bit of work to jump up to the next tier, but it's not the worst. I think like Lukier can comfortably beat these, but yeah, that's that. I guess Leonorn goes there too. PBO, yeah, PBO can go up further. Tegria also up further. Chaos, as it goes, it slightly gets better. It gets a new form in set 11, so maybe that will change things. Archite kind of goes up here. There's been a rise in Archite. A lot of people like playing Archite, but maybe that's because people like Eva and kind of want to try the counterpart. I'm not fairly sure. Minerva, I think Minerva is one of the better decks. It's Overlord-esque, does what Overlord technically does, but with multi-attack. Has some sort of deck filter in a way, can scry the top card of your deck. Maelstrom, yeah. Nah, I think Maelstrom kind of sits here. It needs a little bit of work. I think Graham Grace as well. Chronojet, one of the best decks in the format at the moment. If you're not bringing a Jet or an Eva and or both, you are misplaying for your Springfest. These two are absolute juggernauts in the format at the moment. And Messiah coming very, very soon in June. Messiah will join that line of decks at the moment. Seraph goes in B, I think. Jeva goes in B, maybe somewhere like midway, somewhere there. Zorga gets better with the mask, but I guess Zorga enthusiasts will make this better, but I think the deck still does the same. Sometimes can just win if they drop 2 roaming prison dragons in the early game and then just absolutely crush you. So let's put some merit on that and give it that. Bavsagra goes here, somewhere up here. The deck still does what it does. Gravidia as well. Heroes need some work, I think. The deck itself, I don't know, it lacks a lot. Jejuled goes here for the moment, but will jump probably to A the moment when it gets Jejuled Mask. That card is pretty nuts. Shijin Doji, Shijin Doji just gets outclassed by the snake. We don't have Ebisu, but Ebisu would probably be in like A tier or S tier. Well, if you put it in, the JP banlist format, I think Ebisu goes there. Shaman King variants, I think it's past its time. I think, putting it there is fine. Lutetia, I think Lutetia is probably one of the better decks at the moment. And as I said before, there are other people investing time into Lyrical, and they find that, there are other better decks. And the better decks are Lutetia. Kyoka needs some work. Michu needs some work. Medals just kind of average. whatever her name is, kind of eh. And then Hazelet has a PR, I guess. Messiah, so Messiah will be up here once it gets released. So I guess this is maybe some foresight towards, you know, the release of Messiahs. Grave Zorga, I think Grave Zorga, you know, can be put into just the OK tier here. And then scrolling down a bit more, we have Grandfear. Grandfear, I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure. I think Grandfear is okay, especially like at the moment, but if you're versing Jets, then it feels bad. I guess I'll put it here and then we can adjust. Vanguard gets better with the PR, but we don't have the PR in English yet. Like, I guess it goes here, and then once we get the PR, then it's good. Herminia is down here. Alestial's here. Probably jumps to like A tier once we get Festival Collection. I think the new Alestial is pretty stonks. Vireman's Bruce goes in B. I think the deck is solid. Needs a little bit of work though, I think. Unica is just... it's tanky. Surprisingly tanky. And I think it might be better once like she gets her mass form. The Snake, I think the Snake goes in A. Or maybe even high B. I think A, giving it some respect. And at Orphis, we don't see Regis, so I think Orphis goes in B. I think this is like a pretty accurate, some sort of graph tier list. So if we're gonna move stuff around, so I think these three are great. If you're playing the JP format, obviously this doesn't really translate well because obviously JP has set 10. So Ebisu is, you know, one of the better decks. These are pretty good at the moment. I think if you move stuff up, then it's like Overlord, Wellstra, Youthberg. We don't have the Snake yet. I think Lutetia. The Snake might go up a bit. Minerva, Flagberg, something like that. B tier is like where pretty much all of it kind of shifts around. So I think Zorga goes up here. I think that's kind of it, to be honest. Tamiura might be up a bit more. Yeah, all of the other ones are like just kind of there. Yeah, because like, oh, I guess Magnolia goes up a bit. Archite's up there as well, I guess. PBO is pretty good, especially with the Claudina PR. Some of these other ones, I guess like you can give Zorga a bit more respect and put it there. Vanguard, once it gets a PR, jumps to probably like high B tier. So maybe it's like here, just missing a few things, missing a few toys. Yeah, I think the rest is kind of okay. Lucia goes up a bit. I think it can beat Bruce, and that's from me testing against Bruce. I know my locals has a pretty, you know, Bruce-centric player. He plays Highlander Bruce. So, you know, been playing this deck into his deck, and some of the other Bruce players like Vireman's Bruce. So maybe Vireman's is like slightly higher. Grandfear, maybe Grandfear goes here. Orphis Regis, I think Orphis Regis probably goes up here because we don't have the Orphis Regis picture, obviously. So I think Orphis stays up there. Seraph, yeah, goes up a bit somewhere here. Bastion is probably at the bottom. Unica definitely at the bottom. Leonor a little bit higher. I think maybe Leonor goes there. Loro. These lyrical decks, once the new support from Festival Collection comes out, then it gets a lot better. And then just looking at the C tier, we have like a bunch of decks that kind of need help. Grandfear, Jujul jumps to A once it gets Jujul Mask. But I think like this is a pretty accurate representation of what you'll be expecting at the Bushura Springfest. And then depending on when V Premium lands, probably after the June ban list, then we might see new introductions of decks. Obviously with the new set 10, Messiah comes out as well. So I think there's going to be a slight shift in everything here. So I probably will do one for set 10. I think set 10 is a very impactful set. Obviously introducing all the masks, as well as Gandiva, And I think with Davangasai happening at the moment, I think there is going to be an uproar of decks coming out and performing really well after day 1 and day 2. So we'll see the results very soon. But yeah, this is pretty much the picture of what the Bushiroad Springfest at the moment is. Obviously, aside from the Japanese exclusive stuff like Monster Strike, the Snake, and a few other PRs, as well as Messiah, because Messiah comes out middle of June. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the standard tier list. If you guys like this video, pop a like, comment down below what you guys think of where the deck's sitting at the moment. Are your favorite decks on this list? Where does it sit? And do you agree or disagree? You know, obviously this is part of my opinion and what I think is, you know, the top dogs of the format. And obviously through my testing, this is what I have concluded with for this set. But obviously, you know, going forward, we will see a lot of set 10 and a lot of new stuff coming out soon. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.